the whole Bible, maybe it will help, because it's very deep. And then sometimes we as Christians things lightly. For example, after when Jesus said that our body is a temple of Holy Spirit, if I look at this back, what you're saying, that is indeed it is, because it is becoming like His Spirit that infused to our body, in that sense that really that He is inside us. Because as you said, if you take it, if we partake in His death and resurrection,
Yes.
then we are already substituting it. So our body is really the temple of His. Now, sometimes Christians think that, well, our body can, the temple of Holy Spirit, they don't have a deep understanding without listening to or understanding what you're saying. They lost
And
some
by not
point.
having a deep understanding, that's right. And by not having a deep understanding, you can destroy yourselves. This is what the allegories I told you about, the story of the rabbi studying the Kabbalah and getting torn to pieces in his library. I told you it up front so that you'll start to understand. This is also a spiritual story. Not necessarily, maybe it's a true story, but at least we're supposed to take it on a spiritual level. The end result we're supposed to understand is that his soul was destroyed because he hadn't understood it properly and he ended up blaspheming. So in the same way, a Christian who doesn't take the Eucharist seriously can end up being destroyed, because they have never actually made the transaction. They never did the transaction. So I will say, from a Judaic perspective, it's equally dangerous to just take this bread and this wine and think, okay, this bread is not bread anymore, this is human flesh now, it's transformed into human flesh. This wine is not wine anymore, this is human blood now, it's transformed into human wine. This is dangerous. But it's equally dangerous to say, this is just symbolic, it doesn't actually mean anything. Nothing here is really his body. The ceremony really is his body. Both sides are dangerous and can destroy you. So if we're going to be talking about criticizing Kabbalah as occult sort of ritual, etc., blah, 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 we can also criticize those Christians who don't understand what they're doing when they take part in the Eucharist as well. It can do no harm if you don't make up stories about it. If you don't know what you're doing, let me put it this way: if you don't know what you're doing, and you just take the bread and you don't know what it is, there's no harm. But if you take the bread and you make up a story of this has really now been transformed into human flesh, I know that he said that this is his body, but it's not really his body. This is also harmful. So those people who haven't got any knowledge of it are in less danger than those people who try to explain it in a wrong way. Do you understand? And this actually, somebody was saying to me here in the comments here, something about this smells of, he said this. He said that tripartite Christology smells like Gnosticism to me. This is why, let's talk about Gnosticism. Gnosticism is not such a bad thing if it means that gnosis is what saves you. Because if you have a bad interpretation of this ritual, then you're definitely destroying your soul. Therefore, you need the correct interpretation of this ritual in order to save your soul, because you're destroying it. But at the same time, unlike Gnosticism, if you don't have any interpretation of this at all, and you just like a child, just take it without thinking, then it does you no harm at all whatsoever, and therefore it's not like Gnosticism. So, but we also have to understand this: there is nothing wrong with actually believing that knowing what it is that you're doing, knowing what you're doing, will save you. In fact, Jesus made it very clear all the time that you do really have to understand what he's doing. He also said that children are okay, but he got very angry about people who were like twisting things. So either you have to become like a child, or if you have already heard an explanation and you're an adult, even if you're just listening to this, it's too late. You can't be like a child anymore. Now you can't just drink milk. Now you need adult food, and that means you need to take the gnosis of this, the correct gnosis, that means knowledge of this situation, because otherwise you're stuck with false gnosis and you're in danger already. So I don't feel any problem when people say that this is Gnosticism. In Judaism, to be in the Brit Hadashah, to be in the New Covenant, is to know Jesus. If you don't know Jesus, then you can't really enjoy the Brit Hadashah, the New Covenant. So, absolutely, the Jewish solution is gnosis, to know Jesus. But that gnosis is not the evil gnosis of Gnostic Christianity, which their gnosis, which saves you, is the idea that the creator of Adam and Eve is evil and Satan is Jesus. That's the gnosis of Gnostic Christianity. So if Paul Anka is trying to say that this sounds like Gnostic Christianity, then he doesn't understand Gnosis or Gnosticism at all. If Paul Anka actually understood what the gnosis was of Gnostic Christianity, he would never say that this smells anything like Gnostic Christianity. But if you want to just say Gnosticism as in the idea that salvation is through knowledge, then yes, salvation is through knowledge if you have already got an adult mind and you're beyond milk. You know, milk is for children, but when you're an adult, you need to go further. You need to go further. You have to push your mind further. Paul says this. Paul talks